You're curious, right? You want to get your head around something fascinating, something that whispers of history and maybe even a touch of the mystical.
Yeah, something with real depth.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're taking a deep dive into Beltane, that Gaelic May Day festival that's all about the start of summer.
Beltane, a classic.
Think of this as your shortcut to understanding a tradition that has roots stretching back, well, centuries, and is still sparking with life today.
And what's immediately striking is how widespread this celebration was. And how many different names it carried. While you might know it as Beltane, it was also called Beltane in Ireland.
Right.
Letha Beltane in Scottish Gaelic, and Lada Boltin or Bolden in Manx.
So many variations.
And it's interesting, while many of us think of May 1st, our neo-pagan listeners in the Southern Hemisphere actually mark this time around November 1st, mirroring the seasonal shift down there.
Absolutely. And to really unearth what makes Beltane tick, we've gathered some fantastic resources. We've got Wikipedia's comprehensive overview laying out its history and customs. Pretty solid baseline.
Always a good starting point.
Then we have the, beautifully evocative perspective from Wee Moon, really illuminating Beltane as a pagan celebration of love, sensuality, and that constant cycle of renewal.
Wee Moon always brings such a rich spiritual texture to things.
Definitely. And finally, Naturally Modern, which offers a wonderful lens on how Beltane is celebrated right now, with altars, rituals, and evolving traditions.
So bridging the old and the new.
Exactly. Our aim today is to pull out the most compelling insights, the surprising nuggets of knowledge, and the threads that weave together this ancient festival and its vibrant modern resurgence. Okay, let's get right into it, those historical customs.
Right, well, if we step back and look at the broader cultural landscape, Beltane wasn't an isolated event. It was one of the four cornerstones of the Gaelic seasonal calendar.
Along with Samhain, Imbolc,
And Lughnasadh, exactly. It also shares close ties with the Welsh festival of Calan May. Historically, its observance across Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man really underscores its fundamental importance in shaping Gaelic culture.
And it crops up in some really old stories, doesn't it? Wikipedia mentions its presence in early Irish literature, connected to significant events in their mythology.
Yeah, it's deeply embedded in the lore.
Plus, there was a very practical side to it, marking Set Samhain, the first of summer, which signaled the time to move the cattle to those rich summer pastures. It's interesting how the practical and the mythical were so intertwined.
Precisely. This seasonal shift was so crucial for these communities that it was marked by specific rituals designed to ensure the well-being and increase of their livestock, the safety of the people, and the bounty of the crops.
So high stakes.
Definitely. These weren't just casual get-togethers. They were deeply rooted in a collective desire to encourage growth and offer protection against potential hardship.
And the real focal point of these historical customs seems to have been the bonfires. Just the image of these huge fires lighting up the landscape.
Oh, absolutely central.
Wikipedia explains how the flames, the smoke, and even the ashes were believed to hold protective powers. It makes you wonder why fire held such a central role.
Well, what's fascinating here is the symbolic weight given to fire in these ancient cultures. Think about it. Fire provides warmth and light, especially after the long, dark winter. It's a powerful force of transformation.
Like Thanksgiving, almost.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, the belief that these bonfires held protective powers likely stemmed from this understanding of fire as a life-affirming and purifying element. People and their animals walking around or between these fires, sometimes even leaping over the flames.
Yeah, that leaping part.
Could be seen as a way to absorb that vital energy and ward off negativity.
Yeah.
And the custom of extinguishing all household fires and then relighting them from the communal Beltane fire, that really signifies a fresh start for the community, bound together by this shared, newly kindled flame.
A reset. And it wasn't just about fire, there was also the communal aspect of food. Wikipedia mentions a feast, with offerings of food and drink given to the AOC. Those are the spirits or fairies, right?
That's right, the AOC, yeah. Or the good neighbors, sometimes.
Why were offerings made to them specifically at this time?
Well, the AOC were believed to be particularly active during these liminal times, like Beltane and Samhain, when the boundaries between the worlds were considered thin.
Ah, okay.
Offering food and drink was a way to, appease them, to ensure good fortune, and to maintain harmony with the spirit world.
Keep the peace.
Essentially. And visually, the color yellow was prominent. Yellow mayflowers were used to decorate everything, doors, windows, even the livestock. It's hard not to see that visual echo of the bright flames of the bonfires.
That makes sense. And then there's the May bush, which sounds really unique. Wikipedia describes it as a thorn bush or branch elaborately decorated with flowers, ribbons, bright shells, and rushlights in parts of Ireland. How did this differ from, say, a maple?
Good question. The May bush seems to have been more of a personal or household symbol of the season's vitality, often created by the eldest member of the family.
So less communal than a maypole.
Generally, yeah. It wasn't typically the central communal focus in the same way the European maypole was with its associated dances and larger gatherings. The May bush highlights the creative and decorative impulses of the festival, bringing the vibrancy of nature right to the doorstep.
I like that.
And beyond the decorations, there were also visits to holy wells, reflecting a connection to sacred water sources, and that charming belief that Beltane dew could bestow beauty and youthfulness.
Everyone wants that.
Who wouldn't?
It's interesting how these deeply ingrained customs began to fade, though. Wikipedia notes that public celebrations declined by the 20th century, but it's also really encouraging to see them being revived. What do you think drives this modern resurgence?
Oh, I think this revival speaks to a fundamental human need to connect with ancestral traditions and the cycles of nature, especially in an increasingly fast-paced and, let's face it, disconnected modern world.
Yeah, definitely feeling that disconnect.
These festivals offer a sense of continuity, community, and a way to mark the turning points of the year in a meaningful way. They provide a tangible link to the past and a way to ground ourselves in the present.
Now let's delve into the name itself, Beltane. Wikipedia suggests it likely originates from a Proto-Celtic term meaning bright fire, which seems obvious now.
It fits, doesn't it?
And it might even be linked to a Celtic god named Balanos, or possibly even the figure of Babble. What can the etymology tell us about the core meaning of the festival?
Well, the etymology really reinforces the central role of fire, as you said. The potential connection to Balanos, a Celtic deity associated with light and healing, further emphasizes the themes of renewal, purification, and vitality.
So light, fire, healing, it all ties together.
Exactly. And the Old Irish name, Secheme, meaning first of summer, which has survived in modern Gaelic languages, clearly marks its significance as a seasonal marker, the true beginning of the warmer months.
And it's not just in language, it's etched into the landscape too. Wikipedia points out place names in Ireland containing Beltane, or its anglicized form Beltane, indicating actual locations where these celebrations historically took place.
They're like living maps.
That Beltane stone circle in Donegal, for example, serves as a powerful physical reminder.
Absolutely. These place names provide tangible links to the past, rooting the festival in specific locations and landscapes. They tell a silent story of how integral Beltane was to the social and cultural lives of these communities, marking not just a date on a calendar, but a significant point in their shared history.
Wikipedia then takes us back further to some of the older medieval accounts. It mentions how Beltane and Samhain were likely the most important Celtic festivals, perhaps due to that seasonal movement of livestock transhumance, as it's called.
Right, that movement between pastures.
Why would these two festivals have held such prominence?
Well, for largely pastoral communities, these transitions between seasons were absolutely critical. Beltane marked the move to summer pastures, a time of growth and abundance, while Samhain signaled the return and preparation for winter.
Life and death cycles, almost.
In a way, yes. These festivals likely served as vital social and ritualistic frameworks to ensure the success and safety of these transitions. The 10th century Sanus Cormaic gives us that early glimpse of druids lighting two fires with incantations and driving cattle between them for protection, a really potent symbolic act of purification and blessing for the journey ahead.
Wow, 10th century. And then Geoffrey Keating in the 17th century wrote about this grand gathering at the Hill of Uisneach with sacrifices to Baal and bonfires being lit across Ireland. Wikipedia notes that the historical annals don't corroborate this specific grand assembly, but those archaeological findings at Uisneach, the evidence of large fires and charred bones, that certainly suggests a long history of ritual activity there, doesn't it?
It strongly indicates that Uisneach was a significant sacred site with a long tradition of fire-related rituals, possibly including offerings or sacrifices. While Keating's account might blend historical fact with folklore, the archaeological record does support its importance as a focal point for Beltane celebrations, linking it to these ancient fire customs.
So something was definitely happening there.
Oh, for sure. And it's interesting to see mentions of Beltane even in medieval Scottish literature, like the poem Peblus to the Play, showing it wasn't confined just to Ireland.
Moving into more recent times, the 18th to 20th centuries, Wikipedia shares accounts from folklorists about how Beltane customs continued. Bonfires were still central, often kindled on hills using this method of friction need fire, or teenation,
Keenasian, yeah.
by a select group, typically 9 men, after all other fires were extinguished. That sounds incredibly deliberate and ritualistic.
Absolutely. This need fire was considered particularly pure and potent, created through traditional, almost primal means. It was believed to possess heightened protective qualities against illness, malevolent forces, witchcraft, you name it.
Wow.
And the enduring practice of driving cattle over or between these fires for protection in various parts of Ireland and Scotland echoes those much earlier descriptions, highlighting the continuity of these core beliefs.
And it wasn't just the animals. People are participating directly too, daubing themselves and their crops with bonfire ashes, carrying burning torches back home to relight their hearths again. That strong sense of the fire's power being transferred.
These acts underscore the belief that the fire held a vital, life-giving energy that could be harnessed and shared. And as Wikipedia points out, these customs had parallels in other May Day and midsummer festivals across Britain and Europe.
Right, it wasn't unique in that sense.
Suggesting a wider cultural connection to fire festivals at this time of year, all likely celebrating the increase in sunlight and the fertility of the land.
The Beltane feast sounds like it had some intriguing rituals embedded in it as well. In the Scottish Highlands, lamb was a feature, with Wikipedia noting its possible earlier sacrificial significance.
That sacrificial echo again.
And this bannock Beltane, the Beltane bannock, with those 9 distinctive knobs, each one ritually offered to different spirits and even predators to safeguard the livestock. That's a very specific practice. What does it tell us about their understanding of the world?
Well, this practice reveals a detailed understanding of their environment, both seen and unseen. It illustrates a worldview where humans felt a direct connection and responsibility towards maintaining balance with the spirit world, and even appeasing the natural forces that could threaten their survival and prosperity.
Covering all the bases.
Literally. Each knob represented a conscious effort to ensure protection from specific dangers. And that marked slice of the Beltane bannock, where the recipient might have to leap through the fire or was symbolically considered dead for a time,
Whoa.
definitely hints at older, perhaps even sacrificial origins of these traditions.
And of course, flowers remained incredibly important in the more modern era. Yellow and white flowers adorning everything, likely still linked to that association with light and fire.
The symbolism holds strong.
And the Maybush tradition continued with these elaborately decorated thorn trees or branches, sometimes paraded through towns, but also leading to some neighborhood disputes and eventually being outlawed in Victorian times.
Yes, apparently they got quite competitive.
It's interesting how something so celebratory could also become a source of conflict.
Well, the Maybush tradition beautifully illustrates the communal spirit of the festival and the creative energy invested in marking the arrival of summer. The fact that rivalries could erupt over them highlights how deeply these customs were woven into local identity and pride.
Makes sense.
And it's fascinating to see echoes of this tradition in the Gaelic diaspora, like in Newfoundland, and even in some U.S. Easter customs, showing its resilience and adaptability.
There were also all these practices aimed at appeasing the AOC, those fairies, tying mayflowers to milk pails, placing coals under butter churns, leaving out food, all as precautions against dairy theft.
Can't have the fairies stealing your butter.
And the strict rule of not giving milk to neighbors on May Day. Talk about local beliefs shaping daily life.
These beliefs reflect a very close and often precarious relationship with the natural and supernatural worlds. Dairy was a vital resource, and these customs served as both practical and ritualistic ways to protect it and maintain harmony with the spirit world, acknowledging their potential influence on daily life.
And the farmers had their own set of rituals too, processions around farm boundaries with seeds, tools, well water, and specific protective herbs, even making the sign of the cross on cattle with milk. It paints a picture of a community deeply connected to their land and their livelihoods.
Absolutely. These practices emphasize the crucial agricultural significance of Beltane, a time focused on ensuring a successful growing season and the health and fertility of their livestock.
And the mix of pagan and Christian elements is interesting.
Yes, the incorporation of Christian symbols like the sign of the cross illustrates the syncretism of beliefs over time, where new religious practices intertwined with older traditions. And that excerpt from the 19th century Scottish Gaelic song, Am Benechet Beltane, the Beltane blessing that Wikipedia shares.
Oh, yeah.
It's a poignant expression of those fundamental hopes for the well-being of family, animals, and the land that sustain them. Really quite beautiful.
Absolutely. And beyond the bonfires and farming practices, there were other customs like visiting holy wells, praying for health while walking sunwise, and leaving offering.
The cludies, right. Bits of cloth tied to trees.
Exactly. And the well-known one that Beltane morning dew believed to bring luck, health, and beauty. You can almost picture people rising before dawn to collect it.
These customs highlight the personal and spiritual dimensions of Beltane, connecting individuals directly to the natural world and seeking blessings for the year ahead. The belief in the potency of the first water drawn and the dew underscores the sacredness attributed to this particular time of year.
And some of the superstitions Wikipedia mentions are fascinating.
Oh yeah, like what?
About the significance of when fires were lit, about not giving away ashes or clothes, and those omens associated with animals. They offer a fascinating glimpse into the deeper anxieties and beliefs surrounding this pivotal day. It's remarkable how long this festival endured, persisting even into the mid-20th century.
Right up into modern times, relatively speaking.
And the fact that it still continues in various forms today, which nicely brings us to the modern revival. It's truly inspiring to see how Beltane is being reclaimed as a vibrant cultural event.
It really is.
Wikipedia highlights that annual festival on the Hill of Usnich in County Westmeath since 2009, complete with a torch-lit procession and the lighting of a community bonfire. Even the President of Ireland has participated. What do events like this signify in our modern context?
Well, the Usnich revival is a powerful example of a community reconnecting with its ancestral heritage. It's more than just a historical reenactment. It's a living, breathing celebration that brings people together and reestablishes a connection to a significant historical site.
A reclaiming, almost.
Very much so. And those community Beltane fires, where hearths are relit, particularly within the Gaelic diaspora, represent a beautiful way to keep the spirit of the festival alive, even across geographical distances. The fact that the Maybush tradition still survives in parts of Newfoundland is a testament to the enduring power of these customs.
And it's not solely about the fiery aspects. Wikipedia mentions the traditional week-long Beltane Fair in Peebles, Scotland, held in June, featuring the crowning of a Beltane queen and the common riding.
Right, integrating into existing local traditions.
It demonstrates how the name and some of the celebratory elements have been integrated into existing local traditions.
Exactly. And then there's the Beltane Fire Festival on Calton Hill in Edinburgh since 1988. Described as a dynamic performance art event with fire dances and costume processions, it's a very contemporary interpretation, drawing inspiration from those ancient roots, but expressed through modern artistic forms.
Very visually spectacular, I imagine.
Definitely. And even Butser Ancient Farm in England hosts a Beltane festival, blending historical reenactment with folk traditions, featuring a May Queen, a Green Man, and that impressive burning of a wicker man. Though Wikipedia does make it clear that it's not intended as a precise reconstruction of ancient pagan practices.
Right, more inspired by than replicating.
Precisely. What do these kinds of interpretations offer? Butser Ancient Farm highlights the ongoing fascination with exploring and celebrating these ancient festivals, even if through a more modern lens. It provides an opportunity for people to engage with the themes and symbolism of Beltane in a tangible and experiential way.
And that mention of the T-Rex song Ride a White Swan with the line about the people of the Beltane, it's a surprising nod to how this ancient festival has even found its way into popular culture.
Huh. Yeah, Mark Bolan knew.
Now let's shift our focus slightly and consider the neo-pagan observance of Beltane. Wikipedia explains that it's generally celebrated around April 30th to May 1st in the Northern Hemisphere, and at the opposite time of year in the Southern Hemisphere.
That mirroring of the seasons again.
And it often begins at sunset, which echoes some of the historical accounts of how days were reckoned.
Yes, the neo-pagan revival has brought a renewed spiritual dimension to Beltane for many. The timing, often linked to sunset, aligns with the traditional Celtic understanding of the day beginning at nightfall, emphasizing the cyclical nature of time.
Makes sense.
And the variations in timing within neo-pagan traditions, with some following the astronomical midpoint, reflect the diverse ways in which people connect with and interpret these ancient rhythms in a contemporary spiritual context.
Wikipedia then outlines some specific neo-pagan approaches. Celtic Reconstructionists, for instance, prioritize historical accuracy, aiming to celebrate when the local hawthorns are in bloom, observing bonfire rituals where feasible, and using candles as alternatives. What's the driving force behind this emphasis on historical accuracy?
Well, for Celtic Reconstructionists, the focus is on reconnecting with pre-Christian Celtic religious practices as authentically as possible, relying on historical sources and archaeological evidence. Their attention to local natural signs, like the blooming of hawthorns, grounds their practice in a specific cultural and geographical context. It's about trying to get back to the roots as much as possible.
Gotcha. And then there's Wicca, which Wikipedia notes uses the terms Beltane or Beltane and considers it one of the 8 Sabbats in the Wheel of the Year.
A key point in the Wiccan calendar.
It points out that Wiccan Beltane is more syncretic, drawing from various cultural influences and often resembling Germanic or English May Day traditions, with that emphasis on fertility and rituals like maypole dancing.
The maypole, yeah, very common.
Yeah, as well as the symbolic union of the May Lord and May Lady. What distinguishes this broader approach?
Wicca's celebration of Beltane embraces a wider range of symbolic and ritualistic elements that resonate with themes of fertility, union, and the celebration of life's abundance. The ritual of the May Lord and May Lady represents a central symbolic act embodying this sacred union and the blossoming of life. It's perhaps less strictly reconstructionist and more about the core energetic feel.
Now let's bring in the perspective from Wemoon. They beautifully portray Beltane as a vibrant pagan celebration of love, sexuality, and the ongoing renewal of life, marking the Earth's resurgence and a season for deep connection.
Their language is always so rich.
They speak of planting the seeds for the future and that vital link between the elements above the rain and sunshine and the life stirring below in the earth and seeds. It's a very evocative image.
Wemoon beautifully captures the energetic heart of Beltane, highlighting its core themes of fertility, creativity, and the interconnectedness of all things. The metaphor of planting future gardens speaks to the hopeful and proactive spirit of the festival.
Yeah, I like that.
And by drawing connections to other cultural celebrations around this time, like May Day, Walpurgisnacht, and various goddess festivals, they underscore the universality of these themes of springtime renewal. Their point about traditional Celtic holy days beginning at sunset and seasons starting on cross-quarter days aligns perfectly with the historical context Wikipedia provided.
Wemoon's writing for Beltane 2025 is incredibly vivid, speaking of that connection between the celestial and the terrestrial, the wild ecstasy of Earth's fecundity, exploring the concept of sexual magic and welcoming the fundamental creative life force.
Wow, wild ecstasy.
And this idea of our own heart's energy becoming Beltane's fire of purification, burning away what no longer serves us, that's a really powerful and personal interpretation.
It's a very embodied and experiential understanding of Beltane, emphasizing inner transformation and the shedding of old patterns to make space for new growth. The celebration of our relationships, both with each other and with the natural world, underscores the importance of connection and community during this fertile time.
And Wemoon also discusses Beltane rituals across the globe, the bonfires, the dancing, and that Celtic meaning of lucky fire. But they also raise a thought-provoking question about our own inner fire and the importance of balancing it against destructive forces, both literally and metaphorically.
That's a crucial point. Fire creates and destroys.
They also mention maypole dances and even marriages performed at this time, including broom-jumping rituals. What's the significance of these diverse practices?
But this brings a deeper layer of reflection to the celebration, encouraging us to examine our own inner energies and how we interact with the world around us. The imagery of the sun's dance and the opportunity to release what no longer benefits us reinforces the theme of personal renewal.
Letting go.
Exactly. And their definition of Beltane as a time to rekindle our inner fire, whether it's the warmth of our home, the bonds of our community, our own sensuality, or our creative potential, really resonates with the core themes. And the idea of Mary begot.
Oh yeah, the baby's conceived at Beltane.
Being imbued with vitality and joy as a charming folk wisdom element.
Wemoon even offers some practical do-it-yourself Beltane ritual ideas, from simply lighting a fire or candle to creating a fairy altar, crafting flower crowns, engaging in a maypole dance, whether large or small.
A tabletop maypole.
Casting spells for fertility and love, and even tracking one's own cycles of fertility. These all seem like very accessible ways to engage with the spirit of Beltane.
They really are. These tangible suggestions make the celebration more accessible and encourage personal participation. Whether it's a simple, solitary act or a community gathering, the emphasis is on actively engaging with the energies of Beltane in a way that feels meaningful to the individual. The idea of a fairy altar beautifully acknowledges the connection to the other world, a recurring theme in Beltane traditions.
And they provide a list of goddesses associated with Beltane from various traditions: Amaterasu, Oya, Aphrodite, Venus, Lada, Freya, highlighting the diverse expressions of the divine feminine at this time of year.
And it's a powerful lineup.
What does this tell us about the qualities celebrated at Beltane?
This diverse pantheon connects Beltane to universal themes of light, love, fertility, and the vibrant energy of spring and early summer, demonstrating how these qualities have been revered and personified across different cultures throughout history. It's about that life force energy.
Kim Duckett's Beltane Blessing from We Moon 2017 is so beautifully written, honoring the cyclical patterns in the seasons, the moon, the ocean, and the rhythms within women's bodies.
So interconnected.
And drawing a connection between sunlight and moonlight and our own hormonal cycles. She even touches on the historical significance of menstruation and the concept of monthly vision quests for creation, extending beyond just reproduction. It's a really holistic perspective.
Duckett's Blessing elegantly interweaves the grand cycles of nature with the intimate rhythms of the human body, particularly those of women. It offers a profound and empowering perspective on the connection between our inner landscapes and the wider world, reframing menstruation as a potent and creative force.
That's powerful.
Her distinction between outward desire and the inward call for wisdom at Monarch is particularly insightful. And the concept of she who cycles is a powerful affirmation of the cyclical nature of life itself.
And We Moon also includes some very evocative poetry, like Tree Lover, celebrating that deep connection with the natural world, and Complete Trust, exploring the possibility of softening and surrendering to trust. These add such a rich emotional layer.
Absolutely. The poetry provides an emotional and introspective dimension to the celebration, inviting us to contemplate our relationship with the natural world and our own inner states during this time of renewal and growth.
And Oak Chazar's more Beltane inspiration talks about the joy of spring, breaking free from the constraints of winter, planting seeds both literally and metaphorically, aligning our lives with our values, and listening to the universe's affirmations.
Hearing that, yes.
The idea of relationship as a way to overcome isolation and the importance of expanding our circle feels particularly resonant with the communal spirit of Beltane.
Chizar's words offer a contemporary and empowering interpretation of Beltane, emphasizing taking action, setting intentions, and the vital role of community and connection in overcoming feelings of alienation. The focus on aligning our actions with our values provides a practical application of the festival's underlying themes.
Finally, let's explore Naturally Modern Witch's perspective on Beltane. They frame it as a celebration of sensuality, vitality, and love, marking the true start of summer and deeply rooted in that ancient Celtic fire festival.
Bringing it all together.
They also highlight its significance within Wiccan traditions and as a time to deepen our connection with both nature and the divine. It's a very comprehensive overview.
Naturally, Modern Witch provides a practical and accessible guide for contemporary witches and anyone interested in engaging with Beltane today, effectively bridging the historical context with modern applications and spiritual practices. They emphasize the energetic shift towards the abundance of summer and the Earth's burgeoning life force, also noting the understanding of Beltane as a sacred union within the divine.
They reiterate the history of Beltane, touching on the bonfires, the ritualistic leaping, the customs involving cattle, and the naming connection to Belenus.
Covering the basics, clearly.
And they also remind us of its place as a pivotal point in the Celtic year, balancing the darker and lighter halves. And they provide a helpful list of various European festivals that occur around this same time. It really shows the widespread nature of these springtime celebrations.
By summarizing the historical customs and the etymology, Naturally Modern Witch provides a solid foundation for understanding the modern practices. Listing the diverse European festivals highlights the shared human experience of celebrating this seasonal transition, albeit with regional variations.
And they offer an incredibly comprehensive list of ways for modern individuals to connect with Beltane. I mean, really comprehensive. From crafting flower crowns in the Maybush, to engaging in cleansing rituals with fire, honoring the Fae, participating in Maypole dances.
So many options.
Honoring the sacred feminine, hand fasting ceremonies, simply spending time in nature, embracing sensual pleasures, creating May baskets for neighbors, planting trees, participating in community cleanups, decorating a Beltane altar,
Using the dew.
using the morning dew, making ribbon sticks for dancing, symbolically jumping over a fire, honoring Mother's Day, cooking with seasonal ingredients, making May wine, and baking traditional bannock. It's an amazing array of possibilities.
It really is. This extensive list offers a wealth of ideas catering to diverse interests and levels of engagement, making Beltane accessible and inviting for modern practitioners. It beautifully blends traditional customs with contemporary expressions of celebration and connection with nature.
And they also provide a really detailed list of Beltane correspondences encompassing energies, symbols, colors, foods, herbs, crystals, animals, and deities. A fantastic resource for anyone looking to deepen their understanding and personalize their celebrations.
Yeah, those correspondence lists are super helpful. They serve as a valuable framework for understanding the symbolic language of Beltane, allowing individuals to tailor their celebrations and connect with the festival on multiple symbolic levels, enriching their personal experience.
And they even outline a simple Wiccan-based Beltane ritual, guiding through altar setup, setting intentions, and sharing a celebratory toast. It's a very clear and adaptable framework for anyone interested in performing a ritual.
Yeah, providing a structured ritual offers a helpful starting point for those who are new to celebrating Beltane within a Wiccan context, while still allowing for personal adjustments and interpretations. Makes it less intimidating, maybe.
Definitely. They conclude by emphasizing the importance of personalizing Beltane celebrations, connecting with the vibrant energy of the earth and sun, kindling our inner passions, and simply reveling in the beauty of nature.
That joy element is key.
It's presented as a call to action, an invitation to engage with the natural world, and a reminder of life's continuous cycle, encouraging us to set our intentions and follow our hearts with joy.
The emphasis on personalization and a direct connection with nature is key to the modern resurgence of Beltane. It's about finding personal meaning and experiencing joy in the changing seasons and embracing the vibrant, life-affirming energy of this particular time of year.
So, as we bring this deep dive to a close, we've explored the rich history of Beltane as a vital Gaelic festival, marking the arrival of summer with those iconic bonfires and protective rituals.
Like a journey back in time.
And we've witnessed its fascinating evolution into the modern era, not just surviving, but flourishing as both cultural events and deeply meaningful neo-pagan celebrations centered on renewal, fertility, and that wonderful embrace of summer's vitality.
What's truly remarkable is the seamless way these ancient traditions have intertwined with contemporary interpretations. The fundamental themes of renewal and connection to nature have resonated across centuries, adapting to new contexts while retaining their essential spirit.
Yeah, that core feeling is still there. And that brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. Considering all these diverse customs and the myriad modern ways people are engaging with Beltane, how might those fundamental themes of renewal and our connection to the natural world resonate in your own life, regardless of your personal background or beliefs?
Something to ponder.
Perhaps take a moment to notice the fires in your own life, those creative sparks, your passions, or even just the thriving growth happening around you as a subtle nod to the enduring and vibrant spirit of Beltane.